Today we are going to build an Android application. Sorry, a mobile application using Android. And we are going to see how we can build our device and set our device up so that we can utilize it for the things we have to do. So I'll go and click on new project. And then over here, I'll go and choose empty views activity. And then I'll click on next. Then in here, I'll give my activity a name. My activity is going to be my United app. Hey, Tale, because United is back. And I'm going to hit finish. Yeah. Oh my God. Manchester United is back. Yabre, 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 yabre. Come on. Hey, God. Okay, so on the screen, you can see that the reason I was quiet was my things are loading, right? So all my applications are loading, all my projects are loading, all my builds are loading, and everything is loading so that I can start building my application. When it is done loading, you see that on the side here, I'll have Android, and when I click on Android, I'll just see app. I'll see my manifest folder, my Java folder, and then my resources folder, which is saved as RES. So I have all my information here for me to build the app. Again, the two files which are of high consideration to me are in my resources folder. I'll look for layouts, and in layouts, I'll look for my activity main. So here I have my activity main. For most of you, your activity main will look like this. So you have two screens here. You have the main design screen and the blueprint. I don't want the two, so I'll just go and click on this so that it goes away. I'm just left with this to run my application. So I can click over here and then I can delete this because I don't need it. Also, if I go into my Java folder, I can see my compact folder and I can see my main activity folder over here. So in my file here, I have this file and I have that file, and these are the files I would use. We said that all our designs are kept in our resource folder. We also said that all of our actual code for our actions will be kept in the Java folder. So in here, I have my resource folder that I'll use to manage all my resources and do my design. In here also, at the top here, I can see something like a picture, which is my design view, and I can see something with lines, which is my code view. So over here, I have the code view for my application. Now, in here, we can see that our application is being saved as Android.constraintLayout.widgets.constraintLayout. Now, if I don't want to use a constraint layout, because there are lots of layouts. There's constraints, there's linear, there's scroll. For me, I want to use a linear layout. So over here, I will remove all the code I have over here and just type linear over here so that the computer knows that I am going to be using a linear layout. Or since today is our first day, let's use the constraint layout so that our next lesson, then we use the linear layout. It's not a big deal. So let's use the constraint layout. So if I click here, I'll see my canvas. And then in here, I can start designing my canvas. Let me close this so that I just have this here. Now, in designing my canvas, I need the palette. In Android, the palette is like our toolbox, which has all the tools we will need to design whatever application we need to design. So in here, I can go and pick whatever tool I need. Now, for what I'm coming to do, I'm just coming to do something simple. I'm just coming to do a simple application that will be used to, just add something or do something like that. So I need input. The first input I will require would be a text input. So this would introduce code into our code. So here, what type of text do I want to introduce? I can choose one for a number, a plain number, a password, a date, a time, anything I want to introduce into my code. I can just go and select it and introduce it over here. But for me, what I need is a number. So I'll just click on number, drag and drop it over here. I'll go and click on number again, drag and drop it. Let's go with the first number first. So over here, I have dragged and dropped the number field over here for someone to type in their number. I can drag and drop the second one. Beautiful. I can go and then drag and drop a button. Beautiful. I can go and drag a text view so that someone can see what they are typing. So I can drag that one too. I can go and drag and drop another text view over here somewhere. Perfect. So with this, I can design how I want my screen to be. So I want everything to be on this line here. And then I want my button to also be on that line here. So that everything is in line with what I am doing. Perfect. 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 I can stretch this out so that it covers the entire length of there. I can stretch this out so that it covers the entire length of here too. Good. Now, what I've just done is I've just designed how my layout should be. I went to pick text view for the labels, and over here I picked edit text for the inputs in which the person is going to input. Now, this is not how it should look like. So you realize that each time I click on something, there is on the side here, that is on the right hand side, there is an attribute section there. So you can see that when I click on text, when I click on this, each time I click on something, it changes because each and every single item there has its own attributes that is can be used to transform it and make it look like how you want. For example, over here, there is a background attribute. I can go and select a background. When I've selected on not on anything, but just the canvas itself. And I can go and choose a background. And you can see that immediately I choose a background, it applies to the background. I can choose any background in which I want, and it will apply to said background. Okay. So I can choose a background for it to apply to it. So the attributes here allow you to um, the attributes here allow you to be able um, to make changes to your information, add formats to your information. You can see there are lots of attributes over here. There are thousands of them. So you can choose which one that makes your work look better. But for us, when I click on this, there are two that concern me for our educational purposes. The first one is the ID attribute. The ID attribute, which is at the top here, is more like your system name. So normally that one, there is no space. It is one word. And then there is the text attribute. The text attribute is what it will be displayed. Anything that is displayed is held in the text attribute. So for this, I can put in number one over here, and we can see that the text attribute for it is what? Number one. Over here, I can put in number two over here, and we can see that the display becomes number what? Two. So the display is two. Of course, I can go back into my code and change the layout and change the font type, make it white. I can do all of those things. But for now, I just want to do this. I just want to do this. Now, if I click on the portion that the person would enter, I can see that the ID is edit text number. I think it is too long, so I'll do it txt number one. So right now in the system, it is called txt number one. And when I click on this, I'm going to call it txt number two. So it means that any time in which this is clicked on, it is going to be called txt number what? Two. In here, as I said, there are lots of properties. There is the hint. The hint would give you more like a placeholder. So over here, I can say enter number one, for example. And then over here, I can say enter number one. And then over here, it is enter number two. So that when a person sees it, you get a hint that this is what I'm supposed to do. There are lots of things you can do to them to make them look better. You can make them any size you want. The properties are there. You can manage the properties as you want. But today, as I said, our main concern is on two properties. The first one is the ID property and the text property. The ID is the system name. The ID, we don't leave space. The text is what will be displayed. What will be displayed is how you want it. If you want to leave space, leave space. It's yours to do whatever you want to do with it. So if I want to see my design, I would go and put on my emulator. In doing so, my so over here we can see that my emulator is working now. I'll go to the top here, make sure I choose the Pixel 9. That is this phone over here. And then I'll click on play. And the moment I click on play, it would run in the Gradle. Remember, I said the Gradle is the compiler, and it will run, make sure everything is okay. And if everything is okay, it will appear on the side over here. So let's see if it appears on the side over here. Hey, hey, error, error, error. So they said I have an error on my page. Said my SDK has to update something. So let me update it, okay? And this one is not going to affect me. Wait, what again? So this is what I wanted us to see. If you are very observant, you realize that everything I did here, it doesn't look like that's in the phone app. You can see all of them have been pushed to the top hand corner. And that is because I am using constraint view. I am using constraint view. And we spoke about that at the beginning of the class, that there are lots of ways we can design our interface. One of the ways we can design as our interface is by using constraint view. So in here, we are using constraint view. And because we didn't constrain our elements are not tethered to anything, so they can move wherever they want to. So the question is, how do I constrain them? If I click on a particular element, I've clicked on the number one text view at the top. I can click here and drag to the top. I can click here and then drag all the way to the bottom. I'm sorry, messed up the drag. I can click and drag to the bottom. That is, I'll click on the circle thing and drag all the way to the bottom. And when I get to the bottom, I'll let go. You see that it looks like a spring. It looks like a wiggly spring. So I can bring it here too. Then I can bring it all the way over here too. And when I let go, you see that it behaves like a spring. And then I can put the element wherever I want it to put. And from that point onwards, the element has been constrained to that spot. So it will not leave that spot. I will have to constrain my other elements. So remember, I'll just click on the circle, drag to the bottom, click on the circle, drag to the top, click on the circle, drag to the side, click on the circle and drag to the other side, and then I can put it where I want to put it. Let's note that there are other ways of designing your layouts that do not involve the constraint view. You don't have to use constraint view, but that is the default view that comes. So if we know it, it is best for us. Since I already know how it works at the code side, I will quickly go to the code side and cheat a bit by picking up the code for the constraint over here and then just bringing that code over here. And then I'll come and put that code over here too. And then I'll come and put that code. I think this is fine. This is fine over here too. Great. So that when I come to the design view, they are all constrained. You can see that they are constrained at where the other one was. So that I'll just go and click on them and drag them to where I want them to be. So they are all constrained. I'll just click and drag them to the locations in which I want them to be. Good. And then this would be here. This one here should be a bit here. I'll click here and bring it to the top a bit. I'll click this one, bring it to the top a bit. Click here, bring it to the side. Good. Click my button, bring it to the side. Good. So you can see that all my elements, when I click on them, there's like a spring around them. That is the constraint. So it is constraining it to that location. So if I go and rerun my app, so I go and rerun my app, you can see that my application now will not push everything into the corner, but because of the constraint, it will keep everything in the location that it is supposed to keep everything. And that is why I went through the process of putting off my emulator and bringing it back so that we can see how the constraint view works. And once we don't constrain, what happens? And when we constrain to what will happen? So it will look like this now. So on my phone, it looks like this. On the device, it looks like this. Remember, we can make the font size bigger, make all of those changes so that our application looks bigger and nicer. With that in mind also, how do I then make it work? Because someone will come and then click here and type number one, someone will click here and type number two, and then when they click on the button, they expect a particular answer. So let's fix this. First of all, the button over here, I'll click on it. I'll go to attributes and I'll say that its system name should be BTN answer. I will also go down here and say that the text property of it should be add, so that we know we are having, when you click on it, you are going to add the two numbers over here. I'm also going to create a third label. So I'll just copy this and bring it here. And this third label, I'm going to call it result for the display. But in here, I'll call it txt result. Okay, so that is what is going to be over here. So this is what I have. Now, remember, every layout has its corresponding Java page. So this is the Java page for this layout in which I have over here. So this is the Java page. And in the Java page, I can write my Java code. This view compact app.apply thing here, I don't really need it. So I can just delete it. It changes nothing in my code. So I can just delete it out. So I'm left with this. Now, in this, I can write my code over here. Just like every programming language you have learned, all programming languages must go through the main function. The main function for an Android application is the onCreate. So over here, I have the onCreate, which is going to serve as my main function. So in here is where I'll write my code. But I have to create some variables at the top over here. The reason I'm creating the variables at the top here, not in here, is because if I create them here, they will be global. So if I have to create other functions, they can utilize those variables. So I'm creating them over here. Now, what variables do I need to use? Over here, I have someone will type in here, someone will type in here, and someone will click a button here, and when they finish, the result of their answer will come here in result. Therefore, I need 4 data types. I need an edit text, and the edit text is going to hold my number 1 information. I need another edit text, and that is going to hold my number 2 information. I need a button, and that is going to hold my BTN answer. Let me just do ANS because I already have BTN answer over there. So let me just say BTN in small letters answer. Perfect. And then I need a text view, and that is what we call the display. So I need a variable for text view, and that is also going to be called result show. Okay. Now, you can see that each of the things I did here are in red. The edit text is in red, this is in red, this is in red, this is in red, which means the computer is not recognizing them. It doesn't know they exist. So at the top here, let's watch something very carefully. At the top here, I can see that it has not been imported. Okay, so in here, I'll just click on alternate, that is ALT, and press enter. And the computer immediately tells me that, do I want to go and import this widget? I would say yes. So you can see that it has imported it here. So it's either I'll come to the top and type import android.widget.edit text, or I'll just click on alternate and press enter when I'm close to the button, and it can go and import that class. So you can see that I've also imported the button. And when I come here, I'm also going to import the widget for the text view too. So I've imported button, edit text, and text view. Now I have no red marks over here. So I can come in my code here. Now, coding, sometimes there is a logical component towards it. And the logical component comes from here. We are saying that the code we have over here is for design. This code is written in a programming language called XML. So when I go here, this is my XML code for my design. Also, we are saying that when we come here, our code is in Java. So I have to tell the computer that when you come here in the XML and you go and look for an edit text for number one, you are referring to the edit text num1 in the Java code. How will I do that? I'll tell the computer that where you see num1, it should be equal to find by view by ID. So we are finding something on our design screen using that thing's ID. Remember when I said in the beginning that there are two things which are important to us today, the ID and the text. The text is for display. You can put anything there, but the ID will be used by the system. And where is the ID? The ID is in the resources folder. So I'll just bring R and a dot. And what am I looking for in the resource folder? I'm looking for an ID, and then I'll bring another dot. So you can see that the computer lists all the IDs that are in the resource folder for me. And the one I'm looking for is the one I called txt number one. Number two should be equal to, again, find by ID in the resource folder using the ID, and I'm looking for number two. I'm also going to look for the show result. So show result is equal to find by ID in the resource folder using the ID. I'm looking for TXT result. And then finally the button. So find BTN ans is equal to find by ID in the resource folder, the ID folder, and I am looking for BTN answer, and I can put it over here. So you can see that now it means that the computer knows that whenever I'm talking about number one, I'm referring to the number one in the layout. Whenever I talk about number one in the layout, I'm referring to number one in the Java code. So this whole process is what we call binding. We are binding the data together. Once we are done with that, there is something I have to do here. I have to tell the person that go for the button. So when I type BTN ans, it means I've gone for the button because the button is the same as BTN answer. And when you go for it, I'll bring a dot. Go and set on click listener. So that's the first thing that pops up. And I'll just click on the tab for me to select it. So I'm going for the on click listener. The on click listener listens to your page. So what it is going to do is that it is going to be on your page. It is going to wait on your page. And it is waiting for someone to click on the button. And when it clicks on the button, it will perform whatever action you put over here. So how do I put the action over here? I'll type view. So I'll bring a dot here, and then I'll say set on click listener, and I'll type new. And you can see that the moment I type new, the pop-up that comes is view.onClickListener. I'll click on tab to select that, and you see the computer just finishes it up for me. I don't have to type anything. So I'm selecting the view dot on click listener. And within that parameter, within this spot over here, anything I type there is what the computer is going to do. And what do I want the computer to do? I want the computer to go and select for me an integer. And the integer will be called N1. Now, where can it find the integer? It can find the integer in num1 dot get its text property. Because remember, we said that anything that displays is in the text property. So go and get me the information inside the text property and make sure the information in the text property is a string. Now in Java, if I write this, it is wrong because I'm telling you that here is an integer. The information the person is also typing is a string. So this is wrong. So I'll go and wrap this in an integer. So I'll say integer dot pass int, and I'll put all of this in integer dot pass int so that when you go for what the person has typed, we'll transform it into an integer and put it in N1. I'll do the same thing to N2. And then I can now finally say that int sum is equal to number1 plus number2. Now I can also say that go for result. And when you go for result, go for its set text property. And in its set text property, go and look for a string. Go and take a string dot value of and put sum in here. So sum is an integer. I have to convert it back into a word string if I want to use it. So this string of will convert it back into a word string. So, and once it is done, it will put it in the text property of show result. Now, if I've done everything which I'm supposed to do correctly, and I run my code again, I will not get any error. Lovely. Now, if I click in here, I can put in my number1. So let's say 12. If I click in here, I can put in my number2. Let's say 12. So that if I click on the add button, it tells me that my answer is what? 24. It tells me my answer is what? 24. So if you type in here and you type in here and you click, the click listener will be triggered. When it is triggered, it will go for your box, go for the text property and make sure that that information is a string. Then it will convert everything into an integer and put it in num1. It will do the same thing for number2. Then it will come and add number1 and number2. Then it will come and display the answer of it. Let's say over here, what I'm displaying is too small. So over here, I'll come into the design view. I can do it in the code view, but this week we are doing a lot of things in the design view. I can go and look for the size property. So over here I have text size, and then I can choose the text sizing which I want. Let's say I want 24, so that it's a bit bigger. So that if I run my application again, It will compile. When it is done compiling, it will run. And then in here, I can say 12, 12. And then after I say 12, 12, I can click on add, and I can see that my answer is 24. And because I made it bigger, now it's a bit bigger. So in your own time, you can create a small application, maybe to add 3 things or add 4 things, or maybe do a BMI app or something. Then you can take the information, add them up, and display. Are there any questions?